Welcome to another Bishop Hartley football game day. It's brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics. I'm Bob McElligott. At Hutta and Price Orthodontics, they've been servicing the area for a long time. And one thing that is certain, they care about their patients, each and every one of their patients. And if you don't believe me, just walk in the door. You will know immediately when you talk to them that they care about you. To find out about the different services that they provide at Hutta and Price, or just to schedule a free consultation and find out how they can help you, go to their website at lovethatsmile.net. Dr. Hutta and Dr. Price, they take great care in taking care of you. Hutta and Price Orthodontics, find them on the web at lovethatsmile.net. For the Hartley Hawks, it is playoff week number 2. It was a big win against Western Brown last Friday. 65-14 was the final in that game. And now this week, they get to take on Tri-Valley. Yes, a rematch from 2017 when the Scotties knocked the Hawks out of the state playoffs. But first, let's revisit what happened last week and then talk a little bit about what's coming up this week as I bring in the head coach of the Hartley Hawks, Brad Burchfield. Well, Brad, it was a very impressive first win in the playoffs for your team last week against Western Brown. You put up 65 points, but how pleased were you with the way you were able to run block and get big chunks of yardage running the football, which, of course, is the staple of your offense?
It was a complete football game for sure. The offensive line is getting better and better every week. I thought that, I didn't know how I would like the bye week, how that would come out, but the bye week enabled us to get a lot better. These were things that we worked on and really placed an emphasis on, and it was great to see it come to fruition.
You talk about the bye week, and again, originally you considered having a game that wouldn't count there just to get some guys playing time that didn't get it during the regular season. I don't think it could have worked out any better for you, could it? That you win the game and you win it by such a margin where all those guys that you haven't gotten to play, they were playing by the end of that game.
And they were playing in a playoff game. I mean, Western Brown was 5-2 and had won a playoff game. And so this was certainly a formidable opponent. And all those kids got to play. And that was what I regretted the week before, that we didn't get them all opportunity to play. But they all got to play. And I think most of them got to play at least a half. So that was great. They made incredible memories, a home playoff game, and they got to contribute to it. And I do want to say a little bit about this. Our guys who are not maybe the first team guys, they've gotten so much better. It used to be when we would put other guys in the game, it would be an automatic score. It would be, it just wasn't good, and we'd get frustrated. That's not the case with any of the kids on the roster now, and that's awesome and a lot of fun. And they kept their first team in the whole game. Western Brown did, which is fine, but it gave us a great challenge and let our kids really contribute to a victory that was important.
Yeah, it's funny. You can really notice when you get some of those sophomores and freshmen in the game because the size just goes down. I mean, let's face it, a kid, the way he develops from when he's a freshman in size and bulk and strength until he's a senior is very, very noticeable. And yeah, by the end of the game, I mean, you had your smaller kids in there. They still had that big number one defense. But, when you look ahead for those kids, and not this year, obviously, and maybe not even next year, but the couple of minutes that you get under the lights on a Friday night in a playoff game against the other team's number one unit, how valuable do you see that as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, there can't be a replacement for it to have them and just seeing their confidence grow. Because all kids, I mean, you go on this for forever. All kids, when they start out, they have confidence issues. I don't care who they are. They don't know how good they can be. They don't know, this guy's bigger and better. Or maybe what happens a lot of times is, I think I should be this good, but I'm really this good. And what you see in a lot of kids is they just kind of stop and complain and let their parents complain for them. But our kids just keep working and working and working and working and working and get to where they need to be. But they need evidence of it. You can't just tell them you're going to be good. They have to actually go and do it on the field and see themselves make huge catches or great blocks or great tackles. I mean, all kids are scared. Everybody. If you've ever played football, you're scared. And I'm not saying you're scared physically of getting whooped, but you're scared of getting embarrassed and you're scared of failing. And that has to happen. And then you come up and make that great tackle and you realize, oh, I can do this. And that confidence, I'm telling you, that brings as much joy to us as anything could.
When you look at a game where you have 65 points, it's very easy to just want to go and talk about the offense and the way the offense executed. But let's talk about your defense, because you get the first score of the game. All of a sudden they come out in a 5-receiver spread and a hurry-up offense, and they are just moving the ball right down the field, and they're deep in your territory, and they're threatening you, and all of a sudden you're able to get a turnover. And they did that on their first couple of drives. They're moving right down the field, and your defense comes up strong. How important were those 2 early defensive stops for you?
Really important. I think there were 2 things. Obviously, we're getting better on defense, and it worried me when we played Watterson last time. I mean, they put up 30 points, and they hit 2 big plays where we had them. You know, we should have had them dead to right. We weren't good enough, and they were, and that scared us. And you know, God bless the offense for keeping us in it and find a way to win the game. But we had to get a lot better. And then the next week we got a lot better against DeSales. Now we got better against Western Brown. I think we've held every team that we've played except Moeller to their lowest point total of the year. So that shows that we have something and we're getting better and we need to continue to get better. It also gives confidence the kids have in one another. You know, they were running the quarterback draw, empty in the box. We wanted to play. We wanted to spread the defense and have guys free over top so they couldn't hit us on anything, a cheap one or a big play. Well, that leaves the box empty. They got 5 blockers. We only have 4 defenders. So they're going to be able to run that quarterback draw. Well, you know that the reaction when they run that quarterback draw a couple of times is put more linebackers in there, put more people in the box. And that sounds great, and it certainly would have taken away that quarterback draw. But what was going to beat us wasn't going to be the quarterback draw. They didn't want to do that way down the field. They wanted us to listen to everybody and move guys in the box and then throw it deep over us. And we kind of had to continue to tell the kids, just hang in there. It's going to plan. They're going to get yards. They're not going to get points. And they did that. And I thought there was great patience showed by the kids.
You talked a couple of times about how much better your team is getting. And again, let's put this year into perspective. When we were talking in week 1, we were talking about the fact you had only 1 preseason scrimmage game, whereas you would have had multiple games in a regular year. Now, you've only played 7 games. I mean, normally at this time of the year, this is when you're getting cranked up. This is when you're starting your run to the playoffs and just figuring out how good you are and how to manage everything. Now you've got to do that in a must-win situation every single week. So do you still feel like you're on that progression? Is this normally where you would be 8 weeks into the season with a young team getting better?
I think so. I think we're getting better, and I think we have set what the kids can do and what they can do well and how to match them. You know, we went from a power team into sales to a spread team in Western Brown. Tri-Valley likes to mix it up a little bit, but I think they're better at running the ball. You know, they want to run with their quarterback, and they have a nice little skill guy and then a nice tailback that they want to run the ball with. I mean, I think that's where they're most comfortable, and then hit play action over top of it. So it's going to be a different look. So you got to find parts that the kids can fit into, our own kids can fit into, so that they can take the variance of teams that we play. So I think so. I think we feel good about the group that we have out there and how hard they're playing.
All right, this Tri-Valley team that you take on this week, you have some history with them because it was only a couple of years ago when they knocked you out in the regional final when you were hoping to go for a 3rd state championship. And that was a close game, and it was a game with a lot of penalties, and it's probably a game that you may look back on from time to time and think about this player, that player, whatever. But with the players, high school football, you're rolling over your players every year. So if my math is correct, your seniors were freshmen back at the time of that loss, right?
Yeah, and they still talk about it. Listen, in my time, there's been 3 games that we're never, ever going to get over. And one is the 2012 Clinton Massey game. The other is 2017 Tri-Valley. And then last year's Trotwood is a tough one too. So those 3 you just never get over. The Tri-Valley game, listen, you take nothing away from it. It was a hard fought, low scoring, typical playoff game. But my gosh, we score a touchdown with a minute left, and we get called for an illegal man downfield, and we're not allowed to criticize officiating, but there was no man downfield. There was no man 3 yards downfield. Like, it's not, hey, good try. You got the call. You did the best. Well, he might have been here. Like, here's 3 yards. Here's 9 feet. And there was nobody crossing that, and we caught a touchdown. So, like, that's the game, and that's, you win the game, and you have a great chance to go to the state championship. And it does not sit well, and it did not sit well. And that was a great football team. And to watch them celebrate, which they deserve to celebrate, they won the game as part of the football. To watch them celebrate was gut-wrenching. And of course, we've shown it to the team. And, you know, we make a big deal that we have to we have a responsibility to play for our tradition and history, and we have to redeem some history. I mean, this is a big motivator for us. And whether the seniors were freshmen on the team and they were there, or the kids that are underclassmen, they understand that people that played on those teams want you to redeem their history. They want you to get a little sense of vengeance right on the field.
You talked about some of their skill. Blake Sands is their feature running back. He's run for almost 800 yards this year. Aiden Fritter is their quarterback and a defensive back who made a great interception to keep them alive and let them play this week in last week's playoff game for them. Fritter has completed about 60% of his passes throughout the course of this year. What's the biggest thing that you have to counter that they're going to do against you on Friday night?
They're a great run play action team, so they'll get their receivers just wide open. So we need to be disciplined in covering those receivers. We can't be peeking in the backfield. We can't be, and we've worked on that all week, and the kids have done a good job. They're really well coached. They're going to sneak guys out, give a run action, then kind of sneak guys out into places where they can make good throws to them. The quarterback definitely has some moxie. You can see that. We need to be physical with these guys. These guys have a physical pedigree, and we need to be physical with them. And so those are things that we need to stop, and they're very big up front on both sides of the ball. It's going to be a battle.
Finally, the way this year's schedule works out in the playoffs, you get a chance to play this game at home. You don't have to go on the road, play at a neutral site. How big of an advantage is that? I know you're not able to pack the stands or anything, but how big of an advantage do you feel it is to play a home playoff game like this?
Huge. Nobody wants to get on the bus. Nobody wants to travel. Nobody wants to be responsible for their equipment traveling from one place to another. No coach wants to have the down markers on their sidelines while they're trying to coach. All those things that sound silly, they're huge. They are huge. Everybody wants the comfort of coming into your own home stadium, and it is important. Now, they won a big road game last week at Jackson, and Jackson is, that was a long ride from Dresden to Jackson. I'm sure that. So these kids are mature and they expect to win. So I'm sure they'll come in expecting to whoop the Hawks, and we got to be ready to go.
All right, Brad. Thank you very much. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Bob.
Tri-Valley comes into this with a record of 7-1. Now, I want you to understand this is a Division III team that this year played some Division IV and Division V teams. So even though their record looks much better than the Hawks, 7-1 versus 4-3, the quality of opponent, there is no question Bishop Hartley has played the tougher opponents this year by far. This game gets underway at Jack Ryan Field on Friday night at 7 o'clock. You can listen to the game with our pregame coverage starting at 6:45 on GameDayBroadcasting.com, or you can watch the game right here on the Hartley Hawks YouTube channel. It's a game that will be produced by the students of the Ohio Media School and Score on Air. 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock to kick off. The Hawks looking to win a second straight game in the postseason and continue to advance in the OHSAA playoffs. Again, kickoff is set for 7 o'clock on Friday night. This has been Bishop Hartley Football Game Day. It's been brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics, and I'm Bob McElligott.